Have you ever heard of a time when one of the world's most powerful economies just stopped? Not for a year, not for two, but for a whole decade. Today, we traveling back in time to 1990s Japan to uncover the story of the lost decade. It's a fascinating, cautionary tale about epic financial bubbles, their dramatic burst, and the crucial lessons it holds for every single one of us as investors, no matter where we live. This isn't just history, it's a playbook of what to watch out for in our own financial journeys. To understand the crash, we first have to understand the boom. Picture this. It's the 1980s. Japan is an economic superstar. Made in Japan is a mark of quality and innovation, seen on everything from Sony Walkmans to Toyota cars dominating global markets. The Japanese economy was firing on all cylinders, and a wave of incredible optimism swept the nation. This confidence fueled one of the most massive asset bubbles in modern history. Stock prices on the Nikkei index soared to unimaginable heights. To give you some perspective, at its peak, the value of the land under the Imperial Palace in Tokyo was said to be worth more than all the real estate in California. People believed the party would never end. Banks were handing out loans with very loose criteria, and companies were borrowing massive amounts of money, not just to expand their businesses, but to play the stock and real estate markets. Everyone was getting rich, on paper at least. This frenzy was driven by a belief that Japanese assets could only go up. It was a classic case of what we now call irrational exuberance. But, as we all know, what goes up must eventually come down, and in Japan's case, it came down hard. In late 1989, the Bank of Japan, worried about this overheating, decided to pop the bubble. They started aggressively raising interest rates to cool things down. The effect was like hitting the emergency brake on a speeding train. The easy money tap was turned off and panic set in. Starting in 1990, the stock market began a terrifying free fall. The Nikkei 225 index, which had peaked at nearly 39,000, lost almost half its value in a single year. The real estate market followed suit. Property values plummeted, leaving homeowners and companies with assets that were suddenly worth a fraction of the loans they had taken out to buy them. This created what's known as a balance sheet recession. Imagine you bought a house for $500,000 with a $400,000 loan. Companies, burdened with enormous debts from their speculative investments, stopped investing in new projects and hiring new people. They focused solely on survival and deleveraging. Consumers, watching their stock portfolios evaporate and worried about their jobs, stopped spending. This created a vicious cycle. Lower spending meant lower corporate profits, which led to lower wages and more job insecurity, which led to even lower spending. The economic engine had seized. The government and the Bank of Japan tried to intervene. They slashed interest rates back down to near zero and launched massive government spending projects, building bridges and roads to nowhere, hoping to stimulate the economy. But it was like pushing on a string, with companies and households so focused on paying down debt, cheap money and government spending had little effect. The economy stagnated, and this period of economic malaise, characterized by low growth, deflation, and a general sense of pessimism, stretched on for the entire decade of the 1990s, earning it the name Ashinawareta Junen, the lost decade. So, what can we, as modern investors, learn from Japan's painful experience? This is the most important part. First, beware of hype and euphoria. When it feels like you can't lose, that's often the moment of greatest risk. The belief that this time is different is one of the most dangerous phrases in finance. Japan's bubble was fueled by this exact sentiment. As investors, we must always maintain a healthy dose of skepticism and do our own research rather than just following the herd. Second, diversification is not just a buzzword, it's your best defense. Many Japanese investors had all their wealth tied up in domestic stocks and real estate. When that market collapsed, they lost everything. A globally diversified portfolio spread across different asset classes like stocks, bonds, and real estate in various countries can protect you from a localized catastrophe. If your home market is struggling, other parts of your portfolio can help cushion the blow. The third lesson is about the danger of debt or leverage. Borrowing money to invest can amplify your gains, but it can also magnify your losses catastrophically. The companies and individuals in Japan who were most leveraged were the ones who were hit the hardest. As investors, it's crucial to be prudent with debt. Don't borrow more than you can comfortably afford to repay, especially for speculative investments. Fourth, understand the silent wealth killer, deflation. We often worry about inflation, which is rising prices. But deflation, or falling prices, can be even more destructive. It discourages spending because consumers wait for prices to drop further, and it increases the real burden of debt. Japan's experience shows that central banks can struggle to combat it, and it can trap an economy in a low-growth state for years. Finally, the lost decade teaches us the importance of having a long-term perspective. Investing is a marathon, not a sprint. Those who panicked and sold at the bottom of the crash locked in their losses. Staying invested, continuing to contribute regularly through a strategy like dollar-cost averaging, and rebalancing your portfolio are key principles that help you weather storms like these. It's about time in the market, not timing the market. Japan's story is a powerful reminder that economies and markets move in cycles. Periods of incredible boom are often followed by painful busts. But by understanding the psychological and financial forces that drove the lost decade, we can become smarter, more resilient investors. We can learn to recognize the warning signs of a bubble, appreciate the true value of diversification, respect the risks of leverage, and commit to a disciplined, long-term strategy. These lessons are timeless and universal, and they are perhaps the most valuable asset we can have. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of modern economic history's most compelling chapters. I hope you found it as insightful as I did. If you enjoyed this video and want more content that helps you become a smarter investor, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps us out. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video.